Morning. Good evening, everybody. And welcome to Tuesday nights when we meet with fascinating, interesting people. Throughout the entire series, we've met with a lot of shluchim in very strange places you wouldn't even imagine had Jews, and yet they have a full-time functioning Chabad house. How does that happen? Well, a lot of that backstory is directly traced back to Rabbi Moshe Kotlarsky of blessed memory, who passed away 2 weeks ago. You recall that I went to the funeral, and here in Illinois, we have two of his children. We have Rabbi David Kotlarsky, who's at Chabad of Lakeview, and we have Mrs. Sarah Benjaminson and her husband here, Rabbi Benjaminson, from Chabad of Glenview. And we thought, well, Lakeview, Glenview, let's have an interview. And I asked Rabbi Benjaminson if he would join us and share some memories and thoughts and stories about his very beloved and revered father-in-law, Rabbi Kotlarsky. So Rabbi Benjaminson, first of all, thank you so much for joining us and our sympathies for your family's loss. And give us a little background. Tell us a little bit about your personal upbringing and how long have you been married in the Kotlarsky family and so on. And give us a little bit of a taste of who you are.
Okay. So I actually got to know my saintly father-in-law 26 years ago as when I got engaged to my wife, Sarah Kotlarsky, and it was very special. And it's interesting when I went out with my wife, I said I'm a little intimidated by your father. And when we met the first time, he says, "Don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated." He knew her. So Rabbi Kotlarsky is a very famous person, especially in Chabad. But he's a very warm person. He's very personal. He's a very caring person. And I felt that throughout my years I knew him as my father-in-law. And I hear from so many people, especially now after his passing, we don't stop getting texts, emails, and stuff from people, especially from shluchim, emissaries of the Rebbe, how he showed a personal interest in every single person. Today is a small thing that when he always comes to us, he brings chocolate to for the kids. So my kids call him Zaidi Chocolate. So after his passing, I saw a text of a shliach saying that his kids call him Zaidi Chocolate because he always brings chocolates. So I was telling it to my kids, and he says, "Are we cousins?" Everybody felt the same way, that he was a caring person. He always brought, when we went to far places to visit shluchim, and he would always bring treats for the kids. That's one thing. I want to go back when he was a child. He always says the story that when he grew up in Crown Heights, there's very few Lubavitcher families living in Crown Heights. He said there were like 5 kids, but and it was customary when the Rebbe would go out to make Kiddush Levana to sanctify the new moon, the boys would take turns holding the door for the Rebbe. So, because then the Rebbe would say, "Shakayach, thank you, and a good Chiddush." When it was on Saturday night, you got an extra thing. The Rebbe would say, "Thank you, Shakayach, a good vach, and a good Chiddush." So everybody wanted to hold the door Saturday, much Shabbos when there was Kiddush Levana. So he was watching his place by the door for a long time, and finally the Rebbe comes out, and the Rebbe's coming back in. He says, "Did you say Kiddush Levana, or are you holding the door?" So he told him, he didn't just give him, he said, go say sanctify the new moon, say the blessing, then come and knock on my door, and I'll say thank you. And that's what he did. He did Kiddush Levana, and he went in the door, knocked on the door, and the Rebbe said, "Yashakayach, good Chaydesh, and good Vach." So he took that the Rebbe wasn't just, telling him off, the Rebbe was educating him. And so he had a very special relationship with the Rebbe. I know my uncle, his brother-in-law, said that it was both ways. The Rebbe showed him love, and he reciprocated both. It worked both ways. And when he was a bacher, he was learning in Montreal, in the Yeshiva Montreal, and it was the time of the 6-Day War when the Rebbe came out with the campaign of putting on film with people. and Jewish people. So there was in that time there was also an election in Canada, so people started wearing pins. Are you going to vote for this person? So he decided with a friend, Rabbi Mendel Lipsker, he's a head shliach of South Africa. He said they decided to make pins. I put on film. Did you put on film? You know. So somehow the Rebbe heard about it. So when he came in for Yud Shvat, so Rabbi Chadika
That's the
called him
yard
in,
side of the previous Rebbe.
right? The Rebbe's chief secretary called him in. He says, "You made something about tefillin." So he's like pushed it off. He said, "Oh, small thing, nothing, nothing." To say you made something, you didn't tell the Rebbe about it. Like he says, "This is nothing." He says, "It makes no difference. You have to show the Rebbe." So he said, Rabbi Kotlarsky said, "I want to see the pins in a certain amount of time." So he went to his mentor, Rabbi Isaac Shvei, who was his the teacher, the Rosh Yeshiva in Montreal, and said, "What should I do?" So he said, "Write to don't apologize. Write to the Rebbe what you did and show him the pin and say, we want to know if we should continue doing this. And we hope this will cause the Rebbe nachas."
Joy.
So he did that, and he got back the answer. That he asked if he should, the Rebbe raised if he should definitely add and do more pins. And the Rebbe said it caused a lot of nachas to me. So even from his youth, he had a special relationship with the Rebbe. And once heard from him that I hope all my memory is correct. I feel like anyway. So I heard once he really bothered him. The Rebbe used to cry his heart out about me, Yehudi, like who's Orthodox conversion and so on and so forth. Says, what could I do? So he wrote to the Rebbe as a bacher, what could I do? The Rebbe told him, your job as a bacher is to keep the times of learning. You should keep the seder. That's your thing to do. So the Rebbe actually made a shidduch. The Rebbe suggested his father with my mother-in-law, Mrs. She was Kazan then from Cleveland, Ohio. Her parents were shluchim in Cleveland, and the Rebbe suggested it. And obviously they went out, and the Rebbe gave his okay. When they got married actually in Crown Heights. But he wrote to the Rebbe that the people of Montreal, they wanted to make a Shevrach for him on, I believe, Thursday night, and it was the night of Nittel, whatever. And he asked the Rebbe if he should go there and come back. He was like going to go for Wednesday, Thursday, and come back before Shabbos. He wants to have Shevrach. The Rebbe used to have during the Farbrengen on Shabbos. Whoever is a chassim make Shevrach by the Rebbe. So he asked the Rebbe, should he go? So the Rebbe said, "Why do you have to go into such, about Nittel? And so what do you have to go? Better don't go." And what ended up happening was a big snowstorm. That Thursday, there was a big snowstorm. There was no way you were able to make it back. So the Rebbe, first saw he was there for Reagan to make the Shabbos, and essentially after the Maimer, usually the
This is during the
father.
Farbrengen, just to set the stage for people. This is the Shabbos afternoon. The Rebbe's having his Farbrengen, and one of the central pieces was they would do what's called a mimer, which is when the Rebbe would teach a novel Hasidic insight, and it was introduced with a special melody, and it was followed with a special melody. Okay, so keep going, please tell us.
So right. So then the person will come up who gave a bottle of mashka, and the Rebbe would pour some, or I don't know. The person would ask if he could make Shabbat brachas. But this time, the Rebbe turned around to his father and says, "No Shabbat brachas." Like it was.
They would actually recite the 7 blessings at the Farbrengen.
Right. Right.
So talk to us a little bit about his sort of professional job that
Okay.
he
Fine. So that's
became
okay.
most well
So,
known for.
right. So when after he got married, he went to Kollel, and then he asked the Rebbe. He told the Rebbe he's ready to go wherever the Rebbe will send him. He's not picky wherever the Rebbe's going to send him. So he went to Yechidus with him and his wife, my mother-in-law, and the Rebbe told him like this. The Rebbe said that the previous Rebbe, my father-in-law, was lived here in 770, the last 10 years of his life, and from here he spread out to the whole world. He said the same thing he said the same thing, I want you to be here, from here you'll spread out to the whole world. So, and that really happened. So he was so Merkez Enoch. You want to explain Merkez Enoch?
Okay, so in Chabad, as people say, I don't like organized religion. We say you'll love Chabad because we're not organized, but we're a little more organized than you might think. And there are actually corporate identities within what we just loosely call the world of Chabad or Lubavitch. You have the publishing house, you have a separate entity that's the yeshiva system, and then the educational arm outside of the formal yeshiva system is called Merkos, the Center Linyane for activities and ideas of chinuch, of education. And that was the Rebbe's responsibility, even in the lifetime of his father-in-law. And that is essentially the governing body for what we know of as the Shluchim. So here, me, and every shliach who's in Timbuktu or he's in Chicago is under the authority of this corporate entity called Merkos, the Center Linyane for Missions and Ideas of General Jewish Education. So not in the formal yeshiva system, but but what we loosely refer to as the shlichus system. So the administration of that is headquartered in New York. Of course, ultimately it's under the Rebbe's authority. And then Rabbi Kotlarsky went to work in that field. So take it from there.
Okay, so he started working under the Rebbe's chief secretary, Rabbi Chadakov, and
Rabbi Chadakov, just explained, was actually older than the Rebbe. And if we could say that somebody was as close to being described as an assistant to the Rebbe, that would be Rabbi Chadakov. He was like the COO of Lubavitch activities. Okay. Rabbi Kotlarsky is a young man in his 20s, and he goes to work for Rabbi Chadakov, who at the time was probably, what year are we talking about approximately?
So we're talking about Lamed based
1972. So Rabbi Chadakov himself is a man of 70 years old or so at that time. And Rabbi Kotlarsky is a young man in his 20s, newly married, ready to change the world. So what were some of his early responsibilities and so forth?
So he in the beginning he started talks to tales, and he was going around publicizing the books of Chabad, but then he started off finding people in different states where Chabad wasn't there yet. For example, New Orleans. My father-in-law found people who were interested in bringing a shliach down, and introduced it to Rabbi Rifkin, Rabbi Zalg Rifkin. And I was speaking to his son during Shiva, and he said that my father-in-law used to ask him about these people that he started off, how they're doing. There was a conversation, so that there was different states that he brought shluchim to.
So again, in 1972, how many shluchim were there? There was a tiny handful, one shliach in a place here, a place there. It was not at all what the system that we think of it today, where there's a shliach on every corner, and Chabad is such a household name. So we're starting to expand into places that today may be thought of as pretty profoundly Jewish, like New Orleans, and yet you're saying that it was kind of void of any Jewish stuff.
The shliach came in 76.
1976. And you think Rabbi Moskowitz, Olav Shalom, came back home to Illinois in, I think, 77 or 78. So just to give you a feel, I mean, there was a Rabbi Hecht, Olav Shalom, who was sent here by the previous Rebbe, and he was the shliach here, but not in the Chabad house style that we're most familiar with. Okay.
So and then there were different. Then he got different places to start off, like the Far East. He started off a lot of. He got different territories. One time, someone sent a letter to the Rebbe asking for help from a place called Cochabamba. Who knows where that is?
It's in Indiana. Go to Munster, make a left. No?
No.
Okay.
Bolivia.
That was my next guess. I was going to guess Bolivia.
Okay, anyway, so the Rebbe wrote on that letter, Kotlarsky, my father-in-law's last name, and to send it to him, and then the way it worked, when the Rebbe wanted to be in a conversation between Rabbi Chadakov and someone else, Rebbe had a phone line that was connected. So Rabbi Chadikov told when he wanted him to be on the phone with the Rebbe didn't call people directly. The Rebbe didn't use the phone directly. Indirectly, he would be on the phone, and I'll tell you how it was. So Rabbi Chadikov would tell him sometimes, "Go to your office and call me." So he called him, and Rabbi Chadikov asked him, "Do you know this place of Kachabamba?" Kachabamba. So and he hears the Rebbe's voice on the phone. The Rebbe says, if he knows the place, what is he doing for the Jewish people there? And if he doesn't know, how could there be a place that's under his achrayus, his
Responsibility.
his
It's under his
responsibility,
authority and
and he
responsibility.
doesn't know about it? He doesn't know about it. So
Everyone knows Kutrabamba. They taught us that
right,
as in Lil Torah in the
right.
geography class.
So that was his lesson in life. That whatever is his responsibility, he has to be fully responsible of all the Jews and whatever is needed there in that city, in that country. So he used to say the story over a lot.
I can't even find Kutrabamba on the map, and he's supposed to know that there's Jews, and there's no Google, and there's no email, and there's no.
Right. So
What year is
no
this?
permanent. There's like 200 Jews living there in that time. But
what year is this approximately?
I should write down. I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember what year. I didn't write down.
Okay.
So he's like the Rebbe had this thing of sending the yeshiva boys, older yeshiva boys, like in the summertime, they will go to like groups of two or something. It's three. It started by the previous Rebbe's time. They send out groups to different cities or countries, and to go to help out the Yiddishkeit where there's no presence of Chabad, permanent Chabad houses. So a certain time that Rabbi Chadkov, the Rebbe came from the oil, and he said in the name of the Rebbe that you should take this over. Rabbi Chadkov used to do it with the Rebbe the early years. He used to say, this place you have to go by train, this place you have to go by boat. The Rebbe would know everything, exactly where they could stay, where there's a place they could stay, different things. But then Rabbi Chadkov would do it all the years, and then at a certain time he gave it over to my father-in-law to send out these groups. It's called Merkishluchas.
It continues to this day. This is how they get started in these crazy places. Like we've had a shliach from South Korea and so on. How does it get started? They send a couple of yeshiva students with some kind of list or knocking on doors or looking in phone books, whatever that is, for Jewish sounding names and trying to see if they can find a little bit of a toehold. And if there's enough of a community there, hey, it's time to send a shliach.
And I went in '98. I was already engaged. I went to Guatemala. There was no shliach there then.
Mm-hmm. And now there's a shliach there.
Now there's a shliach there.
I went in Wimbledon, England, some years ago, more than I can recall.
Right.
So this kind of starts. Speak to us a little bit about one of the projects that your father-in-law really developed, which is the Kinnas HaShluchim, the Shluchim convention that happens every year in the fall winter time. Speak a little bit about that and the background there, please.
It started in 1994.
That's 84.
I'm not 1984. I'm 84. I'm sorry. I'm 84.
We're listening.
Right. So it's exactly 40 years. This year was the 40th year for Kinnas HaShluchim. I mean, it's something special because the Rebbe made a big thing about when it was 40 years from when he became Rebbe. They made a big thing about it. And it's interesting. My father-in-law lived to be the head of the Kinnas HaShluchim for 40 years. I find that very interesting. So how did they come up? Because the Shluchim in Eretz Yisrael, the Rebbe sends a few couples, like 10, I think 20 couples. 2 times the Rebbe sent Shluchim to Eretz Yisrael, to Israel, and they used to make a kinos once a year.
A gathering, a convention.
A gathering, yes, to strengthen one another, to learn from one another. So the Rebbe said that year, the Rebbe gave to Rabbi Kotlarsky, why don't we do it here? Why don't we do it here? So it started in 1984. And then in 1988, the Rebbe said it should be not only, then it was just for the States and Canada, it was like local. But then the Rebbe said it should be, when Rabbi Kotlarsky, my father, went to the Rebbe for dollars, that was by the Kinos, the Rebbe said it's time they should make it for the whole world. Kinos for the whole world. So since 1988, you see the big pictures, all the shluchim coming, and every year it's
Here you
more and
go.
more and more
There it
shluchim.
is. This is
Yeah.
from 2 years ago.
And it's amazing that from 30 years ago, when the Rebbe went to Shem, he was not physically, it quadrupled, it became so much bigger and bigger. It keeps on going bigger and bigger. It's amazing. You would think everybody's predicting that after Gimel Tammuz, after the Rebbe's not here, the Lubavitch is gonna die down. Not only did it die down, we became so much bigger and bigger and bigger. Almost every couple that gets married in Chabad, they want to go on shluchas. They want to be shluchim under Rebbe.
Speak to us a little bit about the rejuvenation of Chabad on campus that your father-in-law really drove back. I mean, it was sort of popular in the 70s, then it kind of faded, and it made a tremendous resurgence over the last 25 years or so. Speak to us about that.
Right. So I want to say, first of all, my father had a very very good partner, very important partner. His name is the Samuel and George Rohr, the Rohr family, which is a story as of a miracle how we met them, and they're really partners in like Chabad on campus, and a lot of Chabad houses benefit from the Rohr family. Whenever you see a Chabad, it's called the Rohr. That means the Rohr helped establish it and help with the building and so on and so forth. So the Rebbe's one time, the Rebbe a lot of times send my father-in-law through Rabbi Kotlarsky to go certain places. He didn't tell him what to do, where to go. You had to just figure it out yourself. So one time he tells him to go to Colombia. Go to Colombia. He goes to
Bogota, not Columbia, South Carolina. Bogota, South
No,
America.
Colombia, country. And he comes there and he meets the people there. And they're saying, you should speak to Sammy Rohr. He already moved then to Florida. He was already in Florida. So he got his number and he calls him and he says, "Oh, let me know the next time you're going to be in Florida." He says, "Oh, I'm just going to be there tomorrow."
Wow, shkacha pratis.
So he meets him, and from there start a relationship that really, it's really it was a partnership with Chabad and everything, all the institutions, and he spoke. And one time, Sammy tells me, "I have a son, George, who's learning in university in New York, and so what's the number? I want if he's interested, he'll call you." And he called him one day, and I just saw George during Shiva. He came by. He was there a lot. He was there by Levaya, and he said, "I came here 41 years ago for a Shabbos, and I never left since." My wife was sitting on his lap as a kid. I mean, his mom became part of the family. He used to come to Farbrengens, to come every Shabbos. He became part of the family, and he really appreciated the Rebbe. And he says, he always, whenever he talks, he says the best investment is to give to Chabad. He's saying, I'm telling you as a business person, to get back for your money is give to Shluchim, because they're there for their whole life. They don't come back. It's a one-way trip, whatever. So you're talking about Chabad on campus. It's amazing how the Rohr family really give, for the beginning, the first few years for them to start and the buildings. It's amazing how much is done. I don't even know how many campuses have shluchim, but it's amazing. Whenever
many of them on our show here. We had them over the last few
whenever
weeks, and we're having next week,
people
Mrs. Bracken.
going to college, make sure they have Chabad there, because they'll be in good territory. They'll be in good hands. That's
okay. Well, Rabbi, I promised you we'll just keep you for about 15, 20 minutes. We've gone well over that.
Okay.
There was a request, people want to honor your father-in-law. They want to give tzedakah. Is there a specific tzedakah that would be meaningful?
I sent it to you. I sent you on WhatsApp.
You sent it to me in the WhatsApp. I'm on WhatsApp because I'm watching
I'll tell you what it is.
Here it is. I will find it in my WhatsApp. Meanwhile, if anybody wants to unmute and just make a quick question for Rabbi Benjaminson, otherwise we want to, sort of let him go. But if anybody has a quick question or something they want to ask, that would be great. Okay, here it is. I found it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post it in the chat here. I'm gonna post it in the chat, and then if anybody has, I'm gonna send this to everyone. Here we go. There it is. Otherwise, we're gonna say good night to the rabbi, and again, you can copy that off, or if you need it, send me a WhatsApp or a text or something. I'll get it to you.
There's a thing online. Shluchim.org. You see that line?
Yeah, here, KarenHashluchim.org, right here.
/
It's-
donate.
Yeah, /donate. And you can make a gift there.
I
Again,
just
if
want to finish
anyone,
up with one story. I want to finish up
sure,
one
please.
story.
Yeah, we
It was
love
the first
stories.
story I heard from my father-in-law, and when I was getting engaged. So he said like this: I was once in Alabama in a nursing home. And I met a Jew in Alabama, and he said my kids dumped me here. And it wasn't even a kosher nursing home. And he said, "What should I tell you? My father called it the Heilige Shabbos, Holy Shabbos. I call it the Shabbos. My kid calls it the weekend, and I shiver when my grandson is going to call it. And they got a name for it. They call it the day after Sunday, the day before the Sunday Super Bowl." So, but I saw made a tweet of it. He said, "Thanks to Chabad, it's just the opposite. My grandfather called it the weekend. My father called it the Sabbath, and I called it the Heilige Shabbos."
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And
All right.
an interesting anecdote.
Yes.
The Rebbe found out about this, and the Rebbe paid for this person to go on a kosher nursing home. So then it was
Oh,
like,
that's beautiful. I have heard the first part of that story. I never heard the second part, that the
yeah,
Rebbe transferred him to a kosher
yeah.
nursing home. Beautiful. Well, Rabbi Benjaminson, your father-in-law's neshama shall have an aliyah. His
Amen.
good works continue to resonate literally
Amen.
throughout the
Amen.
Can I ask
world.
you one question?
Please,
Can I ask one question?
yes.
I wanted to find out, did Rabbi Kotlarsky, did he, I don't know anything about his siblings. Does he have siblings that are involved in everything?
Yes. Actually, his brother works in the office with him, Rabbi Mendel Kotlarsky. He's still in his office. Yeah, he's his right hand man. And actually, his son, he gave over his holy work to his son, Rabbi Mendy Kotlarsky, Rabbi Nachman
We've
Mendel
had him on.
Kotlarsky.
Remember from Suite 302, we talked about the C-Teen Shabbaton. We had him on here for those who are devoted listeners. Remember that he was on our program. And if you don't remember, well, then you have to do some homework.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rabbi
Okay.
Benjaminson. As we said,
My
your father-in-law's
Oh.
neshama Shavan Aliyah. His good
Amen.
works continue to resonate
Amen.
throughout the entire world. It should
Amen.
be a good debate for his family and for all of Klal Yisrael.
Amen. Thank
Okay. Good night, everybody. Tomorrow night, 9:15. Sorry, I make that mistake. 9:15. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you so much.